Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Fans in Motion podcast, the podcast that, as I always say, you didn't know you needed. I like to say to everybody, is it black magic you feel in your heart? Set you free? Feeding off the mojo. Say hello, Josh.
This is your last chance, your last ride.
Brent, what say you, my friend?
I'm going to buy my daughters a music box for Christmas.
There it is.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this episode is awesome. We actually get to talk to the one and only Gary Moon, and he's super fascinating guy. Those of you that are fans of the Mojo era or the Moon Ranger era, you'll really like this. Gary's he's just a super, super nice guy. And Josh, you know, I know you're a big fan of this era of Night Ranger.
I'm a fan of all eras, but this was, one of the first eras that I was able to go see on my own. You know, I was a youngin' back in the 80s.
I remember that, yes.
But it's one of my favorite eras. It was it's different. You know, they were a three-piece. I enjoy the album, Feeding Off the Mojo, a lot. I think it's got a lot of great tracks, and I enjoy Gary as a musician, but also I enjoy how Brad and Kelly kind of changed some of their playing, for that period. Definitely a little bit harder edge during that time. So it's an era of the band that's I enjoyed, and it's kind of a mystery. It has a lot of mystery to it because it's before cell phones, and so there's not a lot of footage out there.
Right. Before the internet.
And it's during the worst musical period for any of these bands that we like.
Right.
The Gary Moon led era of Night Ranger was during the peak of grunge.
Yeah.
Night Ranger was already having issues with all the original members in 1989. Think about going from Riverbend to Bogarts.
Yeah,
right.
So even with the original members, they would have been struggling in the early 90s, let alone not having all the original members. So I don't think it really mattered who was in the band. It's just Night Ranger as an entity was going to struggle, just like all those bands we enjoyed in the early 90s. So
I was going to say, it'd be fun to look back and check out where a lot of our favorite bands of that era were playing, if they were playing. Like, where was Rat playing? Where was Dokken playing?
Rat was playing Riverbend, actually.
We knew Kiss was still playing arenas.
Well, Rat wasn't together. They had broken up by 1990.
Weren't they? I thought. What was the Warrant, Rat, Cinderella?
Oh, that's later. That's 98.
Oh yeah, that's yeah. You're right. Because I was dating Christina back then.
Yeah, because this era is 95, right?
Yeah.
Well, this era,
totally 6 years off.
This era begins in the late 1990. They start performing in 91, and the album's released in 95.
Hold on, you know what else happens in 1991? A little thing called Nirvana and Pearl Jam.
Yep. And it goes, the album's released October 95, and the Night Ranger with Gary Moon ends right around April of 96. Right when the musical horizon of grunge is starting to lower, and these bands are somewhat being acceptable to listen to again. They get back with the reunion, but it's definitely a time period that there's not a lot of information out there, just like the Man in Motion era, just because there wasn't cell phones and a lot of stuff being written about them. So it's great getting with Gary and just getting all these deep facts about the Mojo era, but it's also, he's got an interesting career. It's cool to hear that progression. You get to hear about him basically letting Matt Sorum from Guns N' Roses live with him. We've got stories about being born in Ohio, so he's there's
it's the first time we've had 4 Ohio boys on one show.
Yep.
4 Buck. We didn't do the OHIO.
Oh, we should have did that.
So it's just a lot of good stuff, and again, it's for the hardcore fans that listen to this. It's some good stuff. I think y'all will enjoy it.
I would say this though, to anybody who's anybody who watches this or listens at this point, because now you can on all of your favorite podcatchers.
Ooh.
Don't sleep on these episodes, even though you may not be a fan or know a whole lot about them. Again, we go back to the David Lauser and the Glenn Burtnick. I mean, you're hearing some great stories, and if podcasting does nothing else, it's just about stories and people talking, and you learn stuff about people that you would have never known, ever. So, if you're this far in, just keep listening, man. It's worth it. It's fun. Gary's a fun guy.
Yeah, and these guys will both tell you. I'm sorry, Josh. Didn't mean to step on you there.
Good.
When we first did the Gregg Eckler one, I was calling Josh as I don't really know nothing about the guy. I don't know if I should be on the episode, blah, blah. I am so thankful that I was part of that. And it all worked out. That guy was just a storyteller. May he rest in peace.
And all of them have great stories. Like I said, Gary's got some great ones here that you're going to get to enjoy. And if you're listening to this if you're listening to it, not watching it on YouTube, if you get the chance, go to YouTube and watch it, because I include photos from their lives that they either they share with me or I can get off their Facebook. So when he's talking about being in a 70s band called Moonsparks, I'm able to post all those great 70s photos with all the hair and the mustaches. And there's a great one where they're all in their, leisure suits or whatever, and he's got a parrot on his shoulder. It's awesome. It's great. But then you get, like the photos of him with Jeff Parris and Matt Sorum. So it's, him and Matt Sorum together, and obviously the beginnings of Night Rangers. So there's some early good stuff with Kelly and Brad. So if you get a chance, also check it out on YouTube, so you get to see all the great photographs that are included as well.
I was more amazed when we spoke to David Lauser and he talked about the fish and chips place when he and Sammy went and sat while Sammy's kid was being born, and you put a picture of the fish and chips, whatever it was called. You found an old picture of it.
Yep. So you were able to see exactly what he was talking about. And that's what I did with this episode as well. So check it out on YouTube.
That's great.
Off to you, Josh.
So Josh, back to the previous episode. Have you gotten any thoughts or feedback that you want to discuss about our last episode?
All right, dude. I don't remember what our last episode was.
It's right behind me. All you got to do is look at me.
Album covers. So... Yeah, I almost didn't release it just for the fact that I thought it was too negative, because
I would have been okay with that. I'll be honest. I felt bad about this episode.
It's like, hey, we're doing a podcast about our favorite band, and like 75% of this stuff we're going to talk about today sucks.
Negative.
But you apparently, I remember hearing it and I laughed and agreed with it, but people liked, I think it was Neverland, you equated it to a countertop. So,
oh God, please forgive me, Jack and Brad.
But
I did. Brad made me do it.
No, I never said anything negative other than what the fuck's a car got to do with Night Ranger. That's as negative as I got.
Here's the thing: is I guess I don't give a shit how bad some of the album's covers are. The music's good.
That's right.
So I'd rather have shitty album cover, good music, than it being reversed. And you know what? I do have wrong arm.
Yeah.
I do have a a Night Ranger, album cover kind of on my arm there. So it's one of them.
Yeah, that's dedication right there.
Yeah. So I did it rank my number one? I can't remember. But
yeah, it was your number one.
Well, but you said your number one would have been Live in Japan.
Yeah, I always like that album cover.
Spray paint cover.
I think across my back I'm gonna get the Japanese Hole in the Sun, shadows across my back.
That's a great idea.
You ought to do that a little bit lower, below the waist.
That'd be my tramp stamp.
I will say this.
No, well, you got the hole.
All right.
Josh,
it only takes 10 minutes before we
hole
get
in
to
the bum.
Before we get to somewhere where it's like, why do we got this guy on?
Well, essentially, we are. Honestly, we're still 15-year-old kids at the end of the day. I mean,
yeah.
I have a closet full of concert shirts and.
But we got a lot of good feedback. People were posting their top 3 and bottom 3, and it pretty much all mirrored. Seven Wishes is up there, Dawn Patrol's up there at the top, and then towards the bottom you got Neverland and The Hole in the Sun. Someone had Man in Motion. I think Dave Glazer had Man in Motion on there. So
I got a list for you right here from our Out of Shape and Chapin. He had the most creative. The way he put it. I don't know. Can you guys read that at all?
Well, especially can't read it if we're driving in the car. He talked about hold on. It says, "Don't let up." And a very colorful. The classic logo is loud and proud, but who cares about the stupid cars? The douchebag driving that car is listening to Nickelback, not Night Ranger. And I apologize to all the douchebags that don't listen to Nickelback. Carry on with your Limp Bizkit, you effing douchebag.
Wow.
Yeah, all right.
That's aggressive.
Yeah, it had to be 2 pages worth of stuff that he had. It was the most colorful. I was going to use that to the fans' emotion.
What's this hint to me at the very bottom there? What's the hint? P.S. Andy, eat more vegetables. They'll help with the leg cramps. Trust me on this. Josh, I got to tell you, some of your editing, that was fantastic. Getting the cramp is not a lot of fun for those of you that get cramps, but I laughed heartily at myself, and thank Josh for throwing that in there because it was very funny, and I hope everybody gets a kick out of my suffering.
Here I'm trying to be sympathetic towards you, telling you about the one I had in the morning, and then when you go, got to unplug, I lost it.
Yeah, not that anyone cares, but my problem is I don't drink a lot of liquid in general. I just don't. I don't drink water. I don't drink pop. I just don't drink a lot of liquid. What little I do is tea or coffee, which dehydrates you, and I cramp. And if you ask anybody that's ever played on stage with me in a band, Bob Horton, I'm looking at you, Brent Walter has replaced me more than once on stage. When I get a cramp, I actually just walk away from the drum set in the middle of a song.
Didn't you go out the back door at one of your and they didn't know where you went? There was a back door right behind him.
I will flag if Brent's in the audience and my band used to play a lot, and I'd flag Brent down. I'm like, he knew, just come up, and I would jump up and he would just slide in and play the next 5-6 songs, whatever he had to, while I'm out back, gimping around. So anyway, I hope everybody enjoyed my cramp, and maybe there'll be more to come. I'm not giving away any secrets.
Sounds like a recipe for a long living life.
It's horrible.
I don't drink water or anything. I drink iced tea. That's about it.
That's tea there.
So listen, if in a couple years we'll be doing auditions for another host.
Hey,
that reminded me of the old song by the Brandos. Some folks drink water, some folks drink wine, but I like the taste of strychnine.
What the hell is that?
All right.
You should save that for your music.
Hey, if you're listening to this in your car, please do not turn. It does get better. Andrew or Brent, what we got else?
Talk about the Brandos in a podcast. Trust me.
Yeah, there's a reason.
Anything else in the previous episode? We're good there.
We're good there. Fans in Motion. Brent, you already you showed the first one. What else we got?
Well, that was just it fit in that spot. Oh, that's not. Are we going to do? Well, we're out of order there, Josh. That's your fault.
Well, you jumped the gun, but it
fit to it. So
okay, well, let's do what you got behind you there, Turbo.
Okay. This is why I won the Golden Buckeye News Hawk Award for my Fans in Motion News. I like to thank you all for congratulating me, even though it was an award that I clearly made up. But thank you.
I don't think some people knew the clearly part, but
Yeah.
is there any Night Ranger news? What we got going on, folks?
Hold on. I thought, let me do this part.
Well, get to it, man. We're talking
about Chapin, and I thought this was just hysterical. Out of nowhere, he posts Cartman. What to say? Screw you guys. I'm listening to Hole in the Sun.
Screw you guys. I'm listening to Hole in the Sun.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I'll bet money he did not go listen to Hole in the Sun.
I bet he did.
Get him on the horn.
He'll comment. Trust me, he'll comment.
He could lie. He'll lie.
Well, he did. That's why he was all pissed off and raging when he wrote that "Don't Let Up" paragraph.
Scathing review.
So Chapin, that fits back into his reviews he did. And I was going to lead that into it, but then we got, who do we got there, Andy? Is that Darren Smith? Darren Smith got one of the holy grails this week. The 1995, is that right, Josh?
1985.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Seven Wishes tour. Josh, you tell us about it. You have it, so.
Yeah, if you guys are, to me, is it the most valuable thing or the most precious thing? That's all debatable. To me, it's one of my favorite things in my collection. It is. So Westwood One would air live concerts during the 80s, and basically they would mail this package to the different radio stations, and they would play it on certain dates. So this is a live recording of Night Ranger 7 Witches Tour. It's the same show that the VHS cassette tape is, but this has been mastered, for high audio quality to be played, over the radio. It's not edited, so you get the full opening of Seven Wishes, and you get the whole. I know Rumors in the Air. I think is cut a little bit on the VHS. This is not cut, but it's also mastered for great audio hearing. So if you got a good turntable and a good set of speakers, this thing is by far one of the best recordings there is of the band. And if you're a fan of like Fitz is playing and Kelly's playing, they are up front and center in this recording, and they are, competing head to head with, Brad and Jeff's playing. It's just superb. I can't, talk more highly about it than I have. So, it's not easy to come by. If you're looking for it, it comes in this cardboard box like Brent has behind him. Superstar concert series, and it's got three LPs in there, and it should have like a cue sheet. So basically, the DJ could see where, it's coming out of break and everything, what commercials there are. I think there's another thing in there, another advertisement type thing of future Westwood One shows that they're going to have. Now, I'm not sure if those were exactly to be returned after they were played. Some of those have sheets that the DJ or whatever was supposed to fill out and mail back to. I don't know if they were either supposed to just mail it separately or actually put it in with those. But there's not a lot of them out there. And they're somewhat pricey. You might be able to find one out there for a good deal, but $50-$60 is about the going rate for it right now.
And the way the radio stations would get these is they subscribe to these series in order to play them. So you would mostly hear them on album-orientated rock stations versus your top 40, of course. Back in the day, they still have them, I believe. Do they not?
Yeah.
I just know they went to CD now.
Well, they're on CD. They're probably digital now.
Yeah, they probably just email them now.
I don't know exactly if they still. I know Westwood One still does stuff, but I don't know if they still do the live shows. But yeah, if you're a band of any other bands like Night Ranger, there are. I probably guarantee they have a recording out there. Loverboy or Survivor or any of those bands, I'm sure, probably have a live show on the Westwood.
The Loverboy one that I have that's autographed, they actually had reel-to-reel tapes of the same show on eBay last night when I was looking.
Wow.
Yeah. What year is that Loverboy show?
It was from their first album, so it would have been 1980. 1980, because that was their 40th anniversary is coming out right now.
Probably.
It might be
the last reel to reels
tour, but it has a picture from the 1980 record. I'd have to pull it out. I got it upstairs if you want me to go get it.
No, we're fine. Darren Smith, thank you for posting that, 'cause I always enjoy seeing.
And Brent,
vinyl.
do you know, was that ever played on like EBN? Do we know?
I do not recall ever hearing it.
Okay.
Most of the stuff we ever got was off WTUE out of Dayton.
Yeah.
They did the King Biscuit Flower Hour and what have you.
All right. Fair enough.
And they would do them on Sunday nights and stuff like that about 10 o'clock.
All right,
our next person. Well, that's our boy Kevin Hayes. He posted this blanket. I just thought it was pretty cool. I mean, I've seen this blanket for about a year and a half. And
that's about the best.
All I know is that Broad has a lot of blankets, because every picture I see, she's holding blankets for. I'm like, how many blankets does this girl have? Yes, I know it's Photoshop, but.
Yeah, Kevin Hayes gives us enough shout-outs. I figured I'd give him one.
Well, he also he took a snapshot, a clip of my cramping session.
Oh yeah,
and posted it to my page. It's just funny to watch on a loop. So thanks, Kev.
And that blanket's got the right discography on it too, because it's got the Mojo.
Well, that was a good cover.
Yep.
We I think we all had it in our top.
It was
top,
there.
It was in our top 19.
Yep.
And then I wanted to give a special shout out to it's backwards for me.
Tim Dyson.
Yeah. Welcome to the page, Tim. He was showing us some of his collection there that he's got. You know.
What's that specials thing?
That is Mary Turner.
That's with Mary Turner.
Basically, it's interviews. They would play some songs, but it's an interview. That one there is from.
They called Off the Record, I believe. Off the Record with Mary
I just
Turner.
didn't recognize. I was like, I don't know what that is.
But that's from The Big Life. I think it was aired June 1st, maybe, of 87. And Jack and Kelly are on that. Again, not something easy to find. You're probably going to pay $40 or so if you find it. Unless you find it, obviously somewhere for a deal. But, just expect to pay something like that. So,
yeah,
good collection there. I didn't see does he got the Japanese Hole in the Sun?
I don't believe so.
But I do see it. It's there.
Does he have it? I don't know. I can't.
Bottom left corner. Yes, he does. He probably got them all just glancing quick. So good job, Tim.
He got active pretty quickly on the page, and I just wanted to give him a shout out. And that would be the Golden Buckeye News Hawk Awards winning Fans in Motion News.
Thank you, Les Nessman. Now get back out on the ledge.
Ooh. Damn you, sir. Damn you.
Hey, real quick, speaking of the Fans in Motion, I want to mention Dave Nadelman, who I mentioned before. He had
It's Nadalman, as Josh calls him.
Nadalman.
Yeah, whatever.
Churching it up.
When I talked about the Loverboy album, just getting started, and then he had actually messaged me, and then back and forth. So he got back with me, and he told me he actually did get the disc.
Yeah,
and,
I found it for him on eBay.
He said the real thing may be in his top 5 favorite all-time Loverboy songs.
Really? The real
thing? So,
Dave,
you're solid, man. You're a good man out there.
I've been meaning to ask him, and I haven't had time.
I just wanted to mention that because it's cool. He did follow up with me and talk to me about it. And also, who was it, Brent? Was it Darren Smith who messaged us on that Loverboy?
Yeah.
Not to get off on a total Loverboy tangent, but that's where we're at. So they've got a 40th anniversary colored vinyl disc coming out thing. So
one news bit. It's an update on the Midnight Madness vinyl. In case some of you didn't catch it last week, that date has been pushed back for releasing it till January 29th, 2021.
Is that blue?
Yeah, it's blue vinyl. And some people were wondering why it was pushed back from December. Is that right, Josh?
Early December, yeah.
Yeah, my guess is it because it was so close to the Dawn Patrol release, they needed to let it breathe and sell before they put something else out on the market, or the printing plant.
They may have been out of blue vinyl.
Well, some of the plants some people are having problems getting stuff pressed because there's been a delay with the COVID and what have you. And there were some plants that shut down the past year and a half. So there's more limited stuff out there to get avenues to get it done. A lot of it's getting done in Canada now.
Eh?
So yeah, take off, eh? So anybody who's ordered that, don't expect to see it until February.
So what that is Night Ranger, or I Love Vinyl, has released Dawn Patrol and Midnight Madness on colored vinyl. Obviously, just like Brent said, the Midnight Madness is pushed back to January, but you can get the new colored vinyl for Dawn Patrol. It's currently, I think, sold out on Amazon, but they'll get some copies in. But you can go to Barnes & Noble, Target, Best Buy, and get the new colored vinyl, which we got right there. I did get my copy. I did buy it through a third party. Paid, I don't know, $7 extra. But
tied right into what you were going to show, didn't it?
So it's actually it's a copy of the second pressing, because it's got the Bruce Cohn management there. It's actually hidden by the Obi strip. It is different because nowhere on here is a barcode.
Mm-hmm.
And all the other ones will either have barcodes or the RCA Club, or but even I think the Columbia House CRC has a barcode on it. So this doesn't have a barcode on it. It's a repressing, or they use the cover for the second pressing. The Obi strip, it's is what it is. It's okay. It's got the songwriting credits on the back.
Barcode on the back too on that.
Well, that's where the barcode is.
That doesn't teach you how to hold vinyl though, right? Look at that picture. Look at the picture. It doesn't teach you how to properly hold vinyl on the Obi.
Oh,
it's just macking it up.
The one thing it is different is there is a paper sleeve with the Boardwalk logo. I'll have to look. I'm pretty sure
it was a polyliner sleeve with the Boardwalk logo stamped
correct.
on it.
I don't know if anything overseas came like that, but so that's not exactly original, but it's still okay. And then you got the purple vinyl with the Boardwalk logo there. So they did a nice job. It's probably, I would say, 140 gram. It's not 180. I have not thrown it on the turntable yet, so I cannot tell you audio quality wise what it's like, but I'm sure it's superb. So there you go. There's some great Night Ranger collectibles coming out in 2020. So go out there and get it.
When you posted a picture of it with the light behind it, it actually kind of looked like the color of the lasers coming out off the satellite dish. That's the color. It kind of reminded me of that. So maybe that's what they were going for.
I don't know. Could be.
It's pretty cool.
Okay. So yeah, some good stuff. If you're into collecting vinyl and Night Ranger, we got some stuff, and buy the stuff up so they keep doing it. So we can maybe they'll eventually get to putting Live in Japan on vinyl or something.
And what are they limited to? 1,000, I believe.
Correct.
Yeah.
So, Josh, you got any new stuff?
That was my new stuff, but I can still pull stuff out.
We knew you had more.
I did get. It was I don't know. That is
Aerosmith,
the
Living
on the Edge CD single.
Okay.
I do kind of miss stuff like this. It had the the yellow CD tray and has 3 different versions of Living on the Edge. So it's the LP version, acoustic, and demo. But then it has an unreleased song, Don't Stop. And then it does have the unreleased song, Can't Stop Messing, which Jack Blades and Tommy Shaw co-wrote. So that's the reason why I got it. It was only like $4 or something like that. What's crazy is I just remember thinking Aerosmith was old in 1993, and it's just how young they
look.
They look. So, but yeah, just something else to throw in the collection. There you go.
Brent, you got anything new that you've gotten or want to talk about? Even if it's old new?
I have nothing.
You got the Ace Frehley picture disc.
Yeah, I did, but it's Night Ranger podcast, so I figured.
I got a book. Another book. This is a Christmas gift to my dad since, spoiler, he won't be watching the episode. But it's the autobiography of the guy, Lee Child, who writes the Reacher series. So there you go. Means nothing to anybody probably watching this, but I had to have something to show.
Andy's book corner.
There we go.
It's like NPR, my sweaty balls.
All right, we ready
so
to...
what about that Gary Moon who went through?
Yeah.
Wait, is there any new music there I listening to? Anything you want to throw up before we get into the episode?
Yeah. You know what? I've been listening to a lot of Night Ranger feeding off the mojo and some demos, so nothing really new.
Have you been listening to the AC/DC much? Is it
not?
I've heard
since,
some more tracks off of it. It sounds really good. What I've heard, I haven't got it yet.
It's not. It wasn't disappointing. Like I said, I haven't listened to it in the last week, but
yeah,
again,
I know we talked about it.
it's AC/DC. If you like AC/DC,
Right.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe how expensive that CD pack was, where the CD pack turns into a speaker and it has a LED light of ACD. It's like $50 at Target.
Wow.
That's
You got any
about
bonus with it?
It was sold out.
that's about $25 less than if Kiss did it, and you would have bought 3 of them.
One to open and one to keep sealed. Yeah.
And you'd be talking about how much of a deal it was.
All right,
I don't
so
know
that's
about that.
it. We've got nothing else to talk about. Let's get into the episode.
Part 1, and we hopefully will have at least 2, if not 3, parts to this. So he talks about a lot, gets us all the way up to the middle of the Night Ranger era. So sit back, enjoy, and maybe at the end, Andy will have a cramp.
Maybe.
We can only wish.
All right, guys, sit back and enjoy the first part of the Gary Moon interview. Welcome to another episode of Fans in Motion, and this week we have the one and only Mr. Class and Elegance, Mr. Gary Moon.
Hey, guys.
Yeah.
Thought you were talking about me.
I like
Oh,
the
there's
elegance
Brent.
thing.
Ah.
Well, we're only talking about maybe mistaken for me, but
Yeah.
Mr. Class and Elegance himself, Mr. Gary Moon, the bass player and vocalist for Night Ranger from, let's say, right around 1990-91 to 1996, and bass player and lead vocalist on the album Feeding Off the Mojo, one of my personal favorites. And I think this may be the first time we've had 4 Buckeyes on the same screen.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Uh,
well, it takes a lot to get out of Ohio.
I got out. You got out.
Yeah,
Andy's in Nashville.
So, Gary, is that where it all started? Is in Fairborn?
yeah, pretty much. Well, I was born there, and I was fair.
Let the
Yeah, I
puns-
remember getting run over by a car when I was 6 on my first house that I lived in with my parents. But yeah, my grandfather was the mayor of the city, and I was a troublemaker in town. I was in the only rock and roll band in town called the Demons. And I know. And my grandfather was a minister too. So I had to tell him so many times that it's not about the devil. You know, we are trying to let people know what the devil can do. So it's all positive, see? People will steer away from the devil. And we're called the Demons. But we would play Beach Boys, you know, all the up songs. There's nothing nasty or scary about it. But it was nice being the only band because I got out of school like 2 or 3 hours early to do a big festival before a football game or something like that.
Yeah.
But you know, that was a long time ago. But anyway, it got me started, and I remember when the Beatles first came here in I think it was '63. and I graduated from high school in '69, but I remember learning every one of those Beatles songs, learn how to play guitar, all the finger picking stuff, and all the records, and I just knew I had to get out of Ohio, go somewhere, Nashville, New York, California, somewhere where the industry was. But I finally did it. I put a band together and worked my way out to California back in the mid '70s, and made a couple great contacts at Capitol Records, and they kind of steered me through where I'm at now. So,
well, I want to ask you. We have talked previously, and you had told me a story that was great. So, you were kind of doing the music scene in Cincinnati, probably, I think you said, and Dayton and those areas. And you had a show, and there was a music executive that may have been at the show and left something behind.
Yeah, well, that's exactly what I was talking about in Capitol Records. Yeah, I was playing this really great club called Lowell 43 down in Cincinnati, and didn't have a record deal, but they seemed to like them, and it was all original stuff too. So we played there a couple times, and last time we played there, being the headliner, you play last, and the place cleared out, came out of our dressing rooms, and I was just walking around to make sure that we didn't leave anything. And there was this nice leather satchel sitting in a booth. And I go, anybody lose this bag, And nobody said, no, we got all our stuff. So I had to go through it, find out whose it was, ID it. And, well, let's see, there was probably a couple $1,000s in cash. There was a little vial of pot in it. There was plane tickets for about, 10 cities around the world. And then I came upon an itinerary, and it was a promotion for Bob Seger. He just did a record. And this guy that I know now, I don't know if I should mention his name because he's, he's helped me so much. But anyway, he was the main A&R guy at Capitol Records. And he was there to spend the night in Cincinnati before he went off somewhere with Bob Seger. But, I lived outside of Dayton in Fairborn, which is about an hour away from Cincinnati. I got home that night, about midnight, which is early, out in the West Coast. So anyway, I got a hold of this guy and said, hey, I got your bag. And so I called the number at Capitol, and they transferred the call to him on the road. And he says, oh, man, I can't go anywhere. I got all of Bob's tickets, my tickets. We got an itinerary. I got money. And I says, well, I got your bag. What do I do with it? And he said, well, I'll tell you what. We're going to redo everything that's in the bag. Hold on to the money. And I'm going to get you out to California after I'm doing this little tour with Bob. And we'll see what we can do with your music, because I love your voice and everything. So I said, shit, what a lucky night that was. Get a guy from Capitol.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So anyway, long story short is he did fly me out there. Went up in Capitol Records in the A&R department and met everybody, including a couple, artists. And so he says, find a place to live, and when you get settled, come back, and I might have a couple things for you. So anyway, that's a story about the bag. And I got $2,000 out of it. And I saved their promotional tour. So anyway,
yeah,
that was that little story. And, I could go in deeper with that with my, no, I'm not going to say anything more. It's all clean. It's all clean though.
So hold on, where was this club at in Cincinnati? I mean, that's Brent and I's stomping ground. We grew up at Bogart's and Annie's and.
Yeah, Bogart's. I remember that.
Yeah, it was a Black Stallion back then before it was Annie's.
Trying to think, I never heard of the club you just mentioned. Was it down by the university?
You know, it seemed like it was down in the hip part of town.
Oh, it might have been downtown, like 2nd Street or.
Yeah, it was down in the middle of town, and it was like it wasn't like 1,500, 2,000 people. It was like maybe 800, and I think they had jazz groups in there. And as a matter of fact, I did a couple jazz tunes where I, like James Brown and Wilson Pickett, stuff like that. Because I'm more in the entertainment thing. I did a bunch of my own tunes, but when I got to dance like James Brown, kick the mic stand over and kick it right back and swirl the mic around, that's when I got some attention.
Nice.
So anyway, he thought that I was interesting, and he offered me a couple slots with a couple big acts that were just coming out. If I was interested, well, I was stupid. I didn't say yes. I said, you know what? I really like to take my stuff and do something with it because I got the band together and everything. I don't want to just leave the band. So I passed on a couple really nice gigs. I think one was with, oh man.
You can make it up.
Okay. Well, remember the song Set Me Free, Why Don't You, Babe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the band that did that first was on Ed Sullivan's show, which goes back a long time ago. It was the drummer from that band, and he's played with so many people. I'm so embarrassed. I can't think of his name right now.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. Ended up being good friends with him and everything, and went over to talk to him. Him and his wife in their house, and they saw some stuff that was recorded from me, and they said, well, this is the deal. He had a band that everybody in a band had their own color. Like I would be purple. All my clothes was purple. I'd have to dye my hair purple.
Oh.
Then there was a blonde. Everything's blonde. There was a black guy, and it was, so it was kind of corny to me, but they were on Capitol. I mean, what am I going to do? So I was going to be the guy with the platinum hair. And I actually thought about doing it. So I went to my hairdresser and I said, what can you do with my hair that make it like platinum? She says, well, we're going to destroy your hair. First of all, it's going to take all the life out of it because this is my natural color now. But I did it anyway because you know what? I'm going to try to get this gig.
Yeah. So
I did it. And I got back with my guy at Capitol. I said, you know what? I've been thinking about it. And I think I might want to do this. And my hair's already blonde. So I'm ready to go on the road. Give me some songs. So what happened was in the next couple of weeks, they've been trying out bass players, singer guys, all over the world, I think. And there was this young guy that was probably 10 years younger than me. He must have been 16 or 17. They tried him, and he was just full of energy guy, played great, jumped around, all the stuff that basically I do, but I'm just older, right? So they said, you know what? They chose him because we didn't know if we were going to get you or not. And we had a tour. It started in New Zealand, and it was going to go all through Europe and everything. So anyway, I didn't get the gig. And I was blonde for about a month, and I tried to get my color back and it turned pink. It was a nightmare.
So
everybody has a nightmare when you're trying to make it in this business.
So now, would this be about the mid-'70s when all this is happening? What time frame are we looking at?
Yeah, it was 72, something like that.
Yeah, would that have been Vanilla Fudge by any chance?
Exactly.
Okay.
Who was the drummer then?
Carmine.
Was it Carmine?
Yeah.
Carmine.
That's
yeah.
it. Carmine.
Okay.
Oh, my God. I wasn't even thinking of that version. I thought there was a different version.
Wow. I was trying to find if there's another one. I knew it could be Reba McEntire or the Supremes. So Vanilla Fudge was the only other one, and Kim Wilde.
Oh, okay. Kim Wilde. I liked her. Yeah, it was great. I mean, we got along great, and we stayed friends after this whole thing because I still had my own thing going, and I was going to have to dissolve it completely to dedicate myself to that, sign a contract and all that. So anyway, it didn't happen, and all worked out for me because I ended up coming out and doing some pretty good stuff in my early career. A lot of demos with some of the top recording studios out in California here. And we just about had a deal. Oh, by the way, the name of the band that I had was called Moonsparks because my co-writer and guitar player was named Chris Sparks. So I had Gary Moon, so we put it together, Moonsparks, and we came up with a logo with Moonsparks, and then there was like a moon with sparks coming off of it, and all the sparks are supposed to rain down on the earth and turn people on the best rock and roll music, which is our songs. You know, it was a big concept thing. It was pretty cool after a joint or two. and so we worked ourselves. I booked a band all the way across the country to LA. And I started getting some interest, and we were kind of tired, going to take a big break. But when everybody went home back to Ohio and Michigan, wherever they all lived, I decided to, not go with it, and became great friends with Carmine. He called me personally and said that, if this guy was so young, and he needed this young guy because Carmine wasn't any spring chicken at that time. I think we're about the same age. But Carmen, if you hear this, I love you. And everything's turned out good since then. So it was a good move.
So how long? So after Moonspark, you said you went back to Ohio, Michigan. Everybody disbanded. Where was your next musical venture after that? What did you put together?
Well, after I apologized and paid for everybody to get back home, I got an apartment in LA and kept a couple, like Chris Sparks, I kept him with me, and my brother, Scott Moon, he was another guitar player, slide guitar and some really good stuff. So we put another version of Moonspark together, and there was a drummer up in Monterey, California. His name is Reese Perry, and he was just out of high school, this young guy, beautiful blonde, long hair, and he had like an opera voice. He could sing high, and he could, so you don't want him to sing lead. You just want him to hit the high notes. And he was all the way up Monterey. So I booked his shows all the way up the West Coast from LA to Monterey. And we loved him. I mean, he was so great. Plus, he gave me a guest house to live in. And so we were like the only band. There was only a couple bands in that whole area, believe it or not, in Monterey, which is music capital a long time ago. But we ended up going back to LA to record, get that thing off there, record a whole demo. at a place where Rod Stewart recorded. It was somehow I got to know this guy up in Monterey, and his brother was the main engineer at the studio. And so we went all the way down there and recorded 15 songs. And all of a sudden we got a deal off of a promoter from Alabama where they were going to pay for the record. And we had to fly back to, I think it was Mississippi, where he lived. And we put a record out called Moonsparks. And it was, you know, I have to say, back then it was a little avant-garde, you know. It was a little off the center of what was going on, but I'm still doing that now. I mean, I don't really follow trends unless I'm with a record company or a management company that just says that you're out, dude, if you don't play this song on your record, you know. So I got used to turning things down a lot, which slowed me down in my career, but it kept my integrity, I think, from what I'm doing now with Rad. And I mean, going out with Three Dog Night was thrill of my life. I mean, every song was a hit. And Chuck Negron, one of the Three Dogs,
yep,
was Danny and Corey and Chuck. He was trying to go through getting off of you know, heroin. Back then it was a major thing within the industry that it was really hard to just nip it in the bud. And so basically they couldn't do this tour. They had, beginning of the tour, the first show, he really couldn't perform, but the promoters wouldn't pay him unless all Three Dogs were on stage. And unfortunately, he just couldn't perform. So I happened to be in a recording studio where one of the promoters for Three Dog Night was in, and they heard some of my demos that I did with Moonsparks, and they called me up and said, if you're interested, we've heard some of your songs already. I know you can sing and play bass, and acoustic guitar, and all that kind of stuff. But we have a tour in 3 weeks. If we're going to keep it, we have to say that we're ready to go. Are you interested? Well, I used to play all the Three Dog Night songs in my band in high school. You know, I mean, one is the loneliest number. You know, it's like, I said, I know most of the songs.
Right.
So all I have to do now is learn the bass parts and, oh yeah, I'm doing a record. Shit. With Jeff Paris. I already joined Jeff Paris at that time. And we were getting ready to, well, we had Matt Sorum and Jeff and me did Wired Up.
That was 19. So we're like right around 86, 87, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's taken all these years to get up to that point. And anyway, it was Polygram Records that was going to do our record with Matt and Jeff and I. But I had this opportunity to go out with Three Dog Night. So I talked to the A&R guys at Polygram out in New York, and they said, you know what? We can put this tour on hold if you need to go out and promote this record with Jeff Paris. Because we heard a lot of good things about that record, and it'd be exposing you to huge audiences, and it might have a it might help you on everything else you're doing. So I said, can I get 3 months? 3 months, because that was the tour. And they said, you know, we're going to hold the release because they were getting ready to release Bon Jovi, Bryan Adams, stuff like that. And so they would just center on that and then wait to put out the record when that cleared up a little bit. So I got to go at 3 Dog Night. It's like, God, I got this record on hold. They're holding it for me. And Jeff's going, oh man, I was looking forward to this. And Matt's fine. Matt is like one of those guys, such a great drummer, and his energy is so good that he could walk in anywhere and play. I don't care if it's fusion jazz, classical, rock
yeah,
and
he's
roll,
got the chops.
heavy metal. Oh man, and he still does it.
Yeah,
he cracks me up. We've been friends, and we talk to each other on internet all the time. Keeps me up on what he's doing and everything. And so anyway, that's the whole thing right there. And I went out with Three Dog Night. I can't remember how long I was with them, but I finished their tour. I think it was maybe 2 years. And I came back, and then that's when Jeff Paris, we went out and toured for, I think it was maybe a year. And anyway, that's where I got there.
And the Jeff Parrish, you got some MTV time because they did the video for Saturday Night, which you're in, so you got some MTV exposure. And
that's true.
And like I said, you got to play all the hits with Three Dog Night. So once those two things kind of dissolved, is that where the Pack kind of comes into the picture?
That's exactly what happened. I got off the road with Three Dog Night. I mean, not Three Dog Night, but
Jeff.
Yeah, Jeff and everything. And I was stalling for about a year, taking some time off, and then I got a call from. By the way, I had put back Moonsparks together for a short time. And that's how I met Matt. He actually demoed some songs with us. And just the interim of all that time period, Guns N' Roses lost their drummer. And they just did, what was that big record? It was like a double record.
Use Your Illusion.
Yeah. And so Matt had an opportunity to go finish the record. And I said, man, do it. I'm in no hurries. So he went, rehearsed with them, and they liked him so much they signed him up in a contract for a tour, and he was going to be making mucho money with those guys. Had already been out, and promoters are going crazy. And I said, good for you, Matt. I love you, but I'm not going to hold you back on this thing. So he felt bad about it, of course, because I kept him up, and I owned a studio, and I let him live there. And my wife's family was in a health food business, health food store and a restaurant for 60 years. And so I got to feed him good stuff, got to stay in the studio. I could lock him in there so I know where he's at when we had to rehearse. Because I had to do that, because if you know Matt, I mean, especially back then, everybody, Baby O Studios, all the studios, anybody that wanted like a guy walking in and kicking ass, that'd be Matt. So I didn't want to hold him back. So go ahead. But you know what he did? He says, I got a good friend of mine that great drummer, sings great. And I'm going to call him and see if he's interested in working with you. I'll send him some songs. And his name was Curly Smith.
Curly Smith, who was in JoJo Gunn back in the
JoJo Gunn
70s, and currently the drummer of Boston.
Exactly. And he was thinking about putting together an all-star band. So with me, with Three Dog Night and everything, he said, well, go ahead.
Was with the Pack, was Matt, was he included with the Pack, or who was all in the Pack? Let me get that finalized. Did Curly join you for the Pack?
No, he actually was instrumental in putting the Pack together. So I had to dissolve the Moonsparks thing.
Okay.
To do that. He called me and said that, you'd be perfect. And of course, we played together the first time, and it was magic. I mean, it was like we were so tight. I could be standing on my head and keep the groove with him. And I think he was probably playing my groove to make me feel good, and I felt like I was making him good by playing with him. I mean, whenever we hit a downbeat, it was like always right in the middle. It was always the front of the beat, behind the beat, which is usually jazz or blues. Mm-hmm. But this is right on the rock and roll beat. And so we did the Hitman All-Stars. You know, we had Pete Comita. He played with Cheap Trick. We had, I don't know if you have the members of the pack.
Well, you had there. Well, I have an idea who was. I didn't know if Matt was. Yeah, Steve Isham.
Steve Isham
from Autograph.
Yeah.
So did you guys? How far in the recording process did you guys get with an album?
Well, what we did is decided to find a great producer and just record a record ourselves and then shop it. Mm-hmm. So we got a guy that has been working with Alice in Chains. I mean, he's done Alice in Chains records and he's got himself a pretty good name for himself. And he took us in and recorded like 15 songs. And that ended up being the Still Moon CD because I had to break it up. I had to break the band up to go with Night Ranger.
So was the producer, was that Toby Wright?
That's my man.
Wow.
And he has some Kiss connection there, right, Brent?
Carnival of Souls, yeah.
Yep. He eventually, we're all Kiss fans as well, so that's where the Toby Wright.
Yeah. Well, you know, everything that I've ever heard him do was like ass-kicking production and engineering, and he did it both, you know. Mm-hmm. And we became great friends too, but he really liked their stuff, and he liked the idea that the members of the band, and he felt like maybe this could go somewhere, and so he actually did it. We didn't have to pay him a dime, but he's going to get all the credit for everything he did with us. But so anyway, good old Toby Wright gave me a big boost too, because those songs on Still Moon, which I put together, by the way, we had already disbanded, and I had all those tracks. A good friend of mine out in Malibu, Dave Storrs, who actually was instrumental in getting Ice-T out in the market, producing, and he said that we could take these songs, go in and remix them, master them, and put a record out. There's enough songs here, put a record out. So that's what we did. And everybody else was doing other things at that time. So I just said, you know, Moon is still here, so we call it Still Moon.
So with the pack, you guys have that album together. You're shopping it. I think I remember Atlantic Records came close to, getting you guys. And that band is pretty much put on hold because you get a phone call from a band called Night Ranger. Who's
Night Ranger?
You might have heard of him.
I've never heard of him.
So well, guess what? That's what I said. I was so much into doing my own material. I was in this cloud of moonism and Curly and I, and it was like I never really listened to the radio, because I didn't want to be influenced by anybody. I just wanted to have my own style. So I was pretty cocky back then, and I said, well, I tell you what, we have Brad and Kelly are going to be over at this rehearsal studio, one of the bigger ones in LA. And just wanted to have a couple guys that want to jam with you. I know you've never heard of them, but if you would do it, we'll pay $100 or something like that. And I said, sure, man. Anytime there's a jam like that, especially a trio, because I love all the best trios in the world. I said, let's do it. So I went there, met the guys,
Now, who called you? Who called you and set that up?
I think it was someone from the actual studios, because I've been renting a studio there to rehearse with their band and all that kind of stuff. And they heard that they were looking for a bass player singer. I didn't know anything about them, like they disbanded or anything like that. And there's a whole story about what happened to those guys. Had to break up to get out of a contract, basically. That's how I understood it. And I said, I don't know any of your songs, guys. He says, well, let's just put down a groove, get up to the mic, and wail anything you want.
So who's all in the studio with you at that time? Is we know Brad and Kelly. Now, was Jeff involved in the early, formation of this, getting together?
I think it was just the three of us first, and then when we decided, when they decided to say, let's work this out, because that'd be great. I mean, you really work with us well, but we have another guitar player. I don't think he was there at the time, but he came in and started playing some songs, but something didn't gel with me. I don't know what it was. It was like, sometimes you have too many guitar players in a band and you can't tell where the downbeat is sometimes. But I just didn't feel comfortable with it when I was talking to Camel Management, who was managing Night Ranger, putting them back together and doing a record. That's what they wanted to do. And so Jeff didn't end up being in the band. So it was just the three of us. And we wrote all those songs on Mojo. And we were up at Brad's studio in Lafayette, California, up Northern California. And we put all these songs together and went out to Austin, Texas to record. And there you go. I mean, the record.
So when you mentioned Camel Management, that was Bruce Bird basically wanting to put Night Ranger back together. So you come in, you audition with Brad and Kelly, and so they offer you, do they offer you, what do they offer? They offer you ownership? Like, are you a equal partner? Are you on contract? What is the agreement with you guys? Because you got the pack ready to go.
I know.
Did they give you, a third partnership in the group to leave the pack?
Well, from what I remember very strongly was when I was sitting down in a meeting with Bruce and Brad and Kelly. I think I mentioned something, I think it was me, that said, it'd be great if I was like an equal member, because I have a bunch of songs. We could do some of my songs, like Music Box and Longest Days and stuff like that. And so we did. I think we were like three people that owned Night Ranger. Mm-hmm. So I was an equal partner. I wasn't just a paid guy.
Yeah.
Because I was going in, writing songs with Brad and Kelly, and it just felt right, to be. I think you're going to get 150% of me if you treat me equally, in a band. I always felt that way.
Yeah.
I always did that with all my bands. I mean, I would never just make the most money because I'm the lead singer or something like that. I never did that. I just said everybody gets equal pay all the way around. So, and we were totally excited about doing this record, and we had the time of our lives doing it.
And this would have been, the audition and everything. This would have been late 90, early 91 in that time frame. Does that sound right?
Yeah, first what we did is they wanted to test the waters. So they booked us a tour and played, most of the big hits, Night Ranger hits, with the power trio. Okay, it's going to sound different, but I think what they wanted to do basically was what they told us is they wanted to bring back the Midnight Madness, which is like a little more hard rock stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why I think they disbanded, because the record company wanted to do more, like, Journey was doing more ballads. All these bands was doing ballads all over the place. And they didn't want to do that. They wanted to bring back the rock and roll part of it. Midnight Madness is a great record. So we said, well, let's do all these new songs that we wrote together and all the biggest hits that you guys have had when you first went out and made a huge bang. And we'll just test out what all the fans, huge fans, would think about just three of us. And who in the hell is this guy with this cowboy hat on, And so we did a couple of big shows down in Houston, festival kind of things. And there was people not liking it because Jack wasn't in a band, Jack and Jeff. And but it started growing on people, because when we played the big hits, and Tell Me You Love Me and Rockin' America and all these great hits, it sounded more rockin', because I think Brad and Kelly played harder in a power trio, and Brad had all kind of gizmos in his guitar that he could play some of the keyboard parts, like Fitzgerald, and he was a keyboard player.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were this entity that all the Night Ranger fans were like freaking out. We did radio every city we played in, and played some of our new songs on the radio, and people were liking it. So we went ahead and did it, and that's how it ended up.
There is footage out there on YouTube. You're speaking of Houston. I think it's a radio station, KLOL.
Yep.
That's
the first gig we did.
That's the first one. Now it's got Jeff Watson. You guys play, I think, a couple songs, then you bring out Jeff Watson at the end to do a track. But that is out there on YouTube. I've posted it to the page a couple times. So
we wanted to bring Jeff out. We wanted to bring Jeff out because he was there promoting. I think anybody that was anybody in the industry was at that gig.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, Bon Jovi was there, I think, and John Bon Jovi.
Yeah,
there's a lot of people there.
Shared a dressing room with him.
So you guys were incorporating some new songs with old songs. Some of these songs were "Your Eyes Are a Window," "Never Say Die," "Love Ain't Pretty," "Alligator," "Heart of Stone," which some of these tracks are probably familiar with Night Ranger fans because they end up on, some of them end up on Brad's solo album, some of them end up on Kelly's. And in 1992, you guys shop around a 4-track demo. Boom.
Did you? You get some family songs, right?
Yeah, hold it up longer.
I am not holding up anything. I don't want bootlegged.
All right.
But I did happen to
pause.
But anyways, here, Gary, you can see the. It's got Bruce Bird's contact information on there, but anyway, so the 4-track demo that you guys were shopping, "Love Ain't Pretty," "Wrong Again," "Never Say Die," and "Tonight We Stand Alone." So you guys do that demo, and I'm probably again the only person that has at least this that's known, is a recording from March of '92 in Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Wow.
where you guys, do the typical Night Ranger hits, but you guys are doing Heart of Stone, Wrong Again, Never Say Die, Alligator, Eyes, Your Eyes Are a Window, and you close it with Let Him Run and Love Ain't Pretty. So a good mixture of classic stuff with new stuff, especially bringing out stuff like Let Him Run. What can you tell me about, what kind of interest were you guys getting with that demo, and how did you guys end up on Drive Entertainment?
Well, it's all in the clouds, because sometimes it seems like everything was falling in place. I heard about, or maybe heard the demos and was interested in becoming a part of it or checking it out. And Don Grierson, who anybody in the industry knows that he's known as the song guy. He finds songs that if a band's coming out with a record that he knows that record is going to hit, because that's going to be the first big hit. He just knows songs. And remember The Flame from Cheap Trick?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that found that song for them, and that record went skyrocket.
Yeah. Great song.
Yeah, and if you guys get a chance, look up Don Grierson. I mean, he started with Beatles promotions in the States for the Beatles. He's the one that signed Little River Band, worked with everybody, pretty much throw it out there, Hart, Joe Cocker, Tina Turner, and you get stuff, Megadeth, Wasp. It's just crazy. And then he's the one that, if I remember the story correctly, he was at one label, I don't know what it was, and was trying to get Celine Dion signed, and they wouldn't sign her, so he went and signed with another label, became their president, and basically signed Celine Dion to them. So he's an interesting guy, and it's great that he comes up in this story. So he's the one that creates Drive Entertainment, and then they're
Correct.
Basically pursuing you. So how how does had you had any interaction with him before Drive Entertainment? Let me ask you that.
No. Except that I'm always interested in, producers and engineers who does certain records. And Flame was like one of my favorite songs. And I saw Don Grierson's name in there. And then I started checking him out a little bit. And this guy, you want this guy on your team because he could pull some strings like you would not believe. And I think he wanted to see us play, and I remember him coming down to this rehearsal studio that we actually played like a set of half a dozen songs for him. And Music Box was one of the songs that we played, and what I remember, that was the song that he said, "That's a hit song." So he wanted to get involved right then. And he loved the way that Power Trio sounded. And so he got us on Drive Entertainment. And they were a record company that they weren't high on their promotion at that point. They didn't. I mean, really, if we had some major promotion on that record, Drive, and having Don Grierson behind us, I think we would have had a better chance of the record doing well. But we'd be doing shows. We played a lot of shows all around the country, and usually the record stores, you do radio and you go to record stores where they send out like 50 copies, and then the band shows up in the record store and you sign them all and do that thing. We didn't get a lot of that. We had to ask for CDs ourselves, and then we just, after the show, you got the meet and greet thing, and we would sign CDs right there live. So we didn't get that. Promotion is about 3/4 of your success. I mean, people get so interested because they they put a little taster in your mouth, and first thing you want to do is take a bigger bite. So you go buy the record, you know. So anyway, but the thing that I got out of it was playing with Brad and Kelly on this record and working on the songs together, and very well produced. I think that David Prater and Don Grierson and the three of us came up with some great songs that were a little different than Night Ranger. It's going to sound different with a trio, even though we did have a guy that came in and played some extra guitar on a couple tracks. And it was, so it was like, yeah, go ahead. I'm starting to wonder.
You're right. You're all right. So before you guys, though, get into recording Mojo, you guys actually first when I say you guys, you, Kelly, and Brad, first appeared together on Brad's 1992 solo album, Gilrock Ranch, on a track called Monster Breath. So that's actually your guys' first little, time to be, just all show up on tape. Were you there for any of, when Brad was with Gregg Allman and doing those tracks at all?
Yeah. I mean, that's when, I remember going over to Gregg's house with Brad because they were very close friends. Of course, they put a song on there, and it was just, it seemed like everything that was going on in Brad's studio was magic. I mean, there was something different, and he still is a great producer and an engineer. I think he comes up with some great sounds. It makes me sound good. That's good. Yeah, that was a great time. I remember playing on Monster Breath. That was a good jam. I mean, that was like, the perfect name for it, and then of course Brad and I did Alligator together when we kind of disbanded.
But that had to be a pretty interesting time to be like 1992, 91, where you guys are, you are writing and recording this new Night Ranger stuff. You're involved with, Dan Grierson, and you got Gregg Allman hanging out with you guys. I mean, that's a pretty cool little group of people to be hanging out with.
Is it black magic you feel and your heart sets you free? Feeling of the mojo. Something you needed and you live upon with.
And we're back. Thanks for watching that episode. How was Gary Moon? I thought it was fun. That was part 1. There will be a part 2. Josh, I think, alluded to there may even be a part 3. We're not positive yet. As you saw in that interview, Gary's a storyteller, I think, as all the people we've interviewed. They got great stories. I mean, they've lived a life on the road, and they've lived a life that some of us have dreamed of. So there's a...
I mean, think about we had Three Dog Night, Matt Sorum, we've had Gregg Allman, and then that's on top of all the Night Ranger stories we got out of there. So
Carmine Apiece.
Yeah, Carmine Apiece.
It's crazy.
Bob Seger.
Yeah, the record executive saving that promo tour. So just a lot of good stuff. And if you enjoyed this one, you're going to enjoy part 2, where we get the more into the second half of the Night Ranger stint and into some of the solo work that he's done as well. So join us next week for part 2, and we appreciate Gary coming on and giving us his time.
Absolutely. Gary was super fun to just listen to. I sit back and listen to the stories, man. I don't ever have much to add I'm just so in awe of some of these stories because this was a dream I had as a kid. I wanted to be a rock star, and clearly that didn't happen. So, but anyway, if you're still listening, if you're still with us, make sure you go to all the places and like us and subscribe to us wherever you're listening to. If it's Apple or if it's Spotify, if it's YouTube, like us, comment, join the page. If you're listening to this but you're not a member of the Fans in Motion Facebook page, come there because that's where all the fun is starting to happen. I mean, there's so much posts going on and interaction. And like us and subscribe and please comment. We love the comments. We love to talk to everybody. We try to interact as much as we can. So that's all I got to say is thank you, everybody, for listening, and see you next week with Gary Moon Part 2.